In breaking news, a 70-year-old woman was killed and at least 20 people have been injured in Ra'anana due to a combination of car rammings and stabbings. Emergency services are responding to 3 to 4 different scenes in the city. The terrorist, a resident of Hebron, was arrested. It was reported that the terrorist ran them over with a stolen vehicle. MARA Director Eli Bin emphasized that the situation is ongoing, with indications that all injuries may have resulted from being struck by the vehicle. Among the casualties is a 66-year-old man with moderate injuries and 2 pedestrians lightly run over. And this is a developing story. Day 101 of the war in Gaza, and the IDF is making steady progress in Hamas' stronghold of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. At the same time, Israel leaders are saying that the objectives have yet to be achieved and the war will continue for months to come. ALTV's Steve Leibovich has more.
Day 101 of the war in Gaza, and much of the military activity is focused on IDF attempts to move toward Hamas leadership in and under the southern Gaza terrorist stronghold in Khan Yunis. IDF troops of the 98th Division and the Air Force struck and raided a Hamas command center in the city and destroyed a weapons depot. Soldiers spotted Hamas operatives loading a truck with weapons and called in an airstrike. The truck was destroyed. The Army released video taken by a body cam on one of the soldiers showing gun battles and explosions, as well as soldiers entering buildings through holes in exterior walls inside Khan Yunis. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Netanyahu told the cabinet that the war will continue for some time and tough economic steps needed to be taken.
אחד מהדברים שהתבררו בלי כל ספק זה שאנחנו חייבים לנהל את המלחמה הזאת והיא תיקח עוד חודשים ארוכים. ולכן אנחנו מביאים היום תקציב מלחמה. התקציב הזה הוא אמנם תקציב שנתי, אבל הוא תקציב של שנה שבה יש לנו מלחמה. והדבר הזה מחייב אותנו להוציא הוצאות לביטחון הרבה יותר גדולות ממה שתכננו.
Netanyahu said steps would include cuts in government services and a larger national debt.
אבל בראש ובראשונה יש פה השקעה עצומה בביטחון, וזה מחייב באמת את מה שהם קוראים התאמות, זו מילה מכובסת לקיצוצים. זאת האמת, וככה זה נדרש. ועם זאת, תהיה כאן הגדלת גירעון, כי המימון לגידול כזה גדול בתקציב הביטחון יבוא גם כתוצאה מזה שאנחנו מגדילים את הגירעון באופן זמני לשנה הזאת.
They deny the kidnapping of our children, the murder of our grandchildren, the rape of our daughters. The new Nazis we face today will stop at nothing to destroy civilization as we know it. The World Jewish Congress was created exactly for these times like this, so every Jew can fall asleep at night knowing they are safe in their own home. We are a voice for the Jewish people everywhere. We are the World Jewish Congress.
Tensions on the northern border reached a boiling point and stand ready to explode after the killing of 2 Israeli civilians in their homes by Hezbollah rocket fire. The IDF retaliated and announced that the price for the killings is being felt in southern Lebanon. And ALTV's Devo Klein has more.
The IDF called out the Hezbollah attack on a civilian home on the border and launched retaliatory strikes in southern Lebanon. IDF spokesman Daniel Hagari vowed a heightened military response to the anti-tank missile attack on Kfar Yuval, killing a member of the town's local security team and his mother in their home. The price for this will be exacted now and in the future, Hagari said. Barak Ayalon, 45, and his mother, Miri Ayalon, 76, were killed when an anti-tank missile slammed into their home in the largely evacuated border community. Air Force strikes targeted Hezbollah outposts, missiles, launching sites, and command centers deep inside southern Lebanon. As the IDF strikes continue, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah gave another speech from his bunker. Nasrallah vowed that the attacks on Israel would continue as long as the war in Gaza is ongoing.
موقفنا هو أن جبهة لبنان إنما كانت هذه الجبهة من أجل دعم غزة ومساندة غزة والوقوف إلى جانب غزة وهدفها وقف العدوان على غزة.
And joining us now with the latest security updates on Israel's multi-front war is Director of the International Institute of Counterterrorism, Miri Eisen. Miri, the war has moved into a less high-intensity phase. Attacks against Hamas and Khan Yunis are continuing. Now on day 101, is Israel still in this war to win it? I mean, is the answer becoming more nuanced right now?
I don't think the answer in any way is nuanced. We're in it to win it. I think that what's nuanced is what you think of a victory. We're all kind of waiting and looking for that knockout blow. This is not that kind of war. It's very long term. It takes a long time. It's systematic. It's harsh on all sides. And in that sense, we're continuing what we're going to be doing. It won't be high intensity. It'll be low intensity, but it'll still be very high friction in the places that we are continuing to attack Hamas. And in that sense, it's our expectations that need to be adapted.
Yes, Miri, I believe you were there in 2006 with Prime Minister Olmert when the decision was made to go to war in Lebanon after an incursion killing soldiers on the border over there. We're way past those escalations in the north. Yesterday, civilians were killed in their homes. Why are tanks not rolling into Lebanon by now?
At the end of the day, the IDF has to take into account this multi-pronged war. We are in a war with Hezbollah. We're just keeping it on a low flame. I'll call it a war of attrition, meaning we are taking care systematically of the Hamas infrastructure, that underground subterranean arena, to get to the hostages, to arrive at an event where we can bring back what we need in this war from the south without, at the exact same time, starting a full-scale war on the north. That doesn't make it any easier, not for the citizens of Israel, not for the Israeli soldiers. We are pinpointing and attacking Hezbollah terrorists every single day. That does not help the mother, the child that were killed yesterday in their house, but we have done much damage to Hezbollah over the last 3 months. We need to do much more.
Miri, but still, what's that one thing that has to happen for something bigger to happen on Israel's side, I mean, towards Lebanon? What's that one thing, if any?
I'm not sure it's one thing. I think if there are a lot of casualties on the Israeli side, we would respond differently, but I'll say otherwise. The question also is if Hezbollah would do a large-scale attack, again, with a lot of casualties on our side, then Israel would go out against it. Right now, Israel is keeping its strength, is continuing to hold strong without going all out. I'm not the one who's going to say right now that we should be going all out at this moment. But I have no doubt whatsoever, Amit, that we will be at the end in a full-scale engagement against Hezbollah in Lebanon. We're not going to let them do the kind of pictures that you're showing right now. We're not going to allow them to terrorize our northern border. And that means physically moving the capabilities that we can see that Hezbollah has from Israel's northern border in Lebanon much further north.
Yes, of course. Now, you mentioned the hostages. Many, including in the IDF, are calling for a halt in fighting, really to allow for a deal to return the hostages. Others say that only continuing military pressure will bring about a deal. We know that the hostages are dying in captivity, and more will die if a deal is not reached soon. It's an agonizing dilemma. What should Israel do right now?
So I'm not sitting inside that cabinet room, and we all have our opinions. Amit, can you imagine right now the kind of dilemma and what decisions you want to make? Of course, bring back the hostages now, but none of us right now can understand that kind of dilemma. And I want to be very harsh. To get back all the hostages, we have to pay us, Israel, an incredibly high price. I'm not saying not to pay that price, but that's the dilemma. It isn't just a question of stopping the fighting. It's a question of letting out what could be hundreds, thousands, I even go so far as to say tens of thousands of terrorists, including those who have blood on their hands. That would be the only way to do so. And I can't, it's such a moral dilemma. How can you not do so? And how can you do so? And those are the people right now who lead our country who are going to have to make that decision.
It definitely is, and we want them back home as soon as possible. Thank you so much, Miri, for joining us today.
Thank you all.
Experience the power of truth with ILTV News. If you're looking for quality content and captivating visuals, join our news community and become an integral part of our team as we embark on a mission to unveil the real Israel. dismantling the web of lies and misinformation that surround reporting on Israel. By subscribing to ILTV News, you will not only have access to the latest updates, but you will also amplify our message, creating a ripple effect that carries the truth far and wide. Subscribe today and help reshape the narrative. Available on the web, Android, and Apple.
In a race against time, Israeli medical professionals are grappling with the harrowing aftermath of female hostages returning from captivity, facing pregnancies resulting from sexual assault. This while Hamas deploys psychological warfare through a new propaganda video, leaving the fate of the hostages hanging in uncertainty. Israeli medical professionals are actively preparing for the distressing scenario of female hostages returning from captivity, having been sexually assaulted by Hamas terrorists and now facing various stages of pregnancy. Sources speaking to Ma'ariv reveal that comprehensive discussions are taking place in hospitals nationwide to address this issue. Israeli law grants women the autonomy to choose abortion, yet the state now confronts the challenging task of not only allowing these procedures, but also addressing the enduring trauma that will profoundly impact the victims and their families. With each passing day, the psychological trauma of carrying a child conceived through brutal rape poses challenges beyond medical procedures. Professor Chagai Levine, chairman of Israel's Association of Public Health Physicians, stresses the increasing complexity of terminating advanced pregnancies in captivity, emphasizing the urgent need for the return of the hostages for medical care. Meanwhile, as the crisis unfolds, Hamas has aired propaganda videos featuring 3 of the hostages, Noah Argamani, Itai Zversky, and Yossi Sharabi, employing psychological warfare against Israel. The 37-second clip ended with a sentence, "Tomorrow we will inform you of their fate." There was no information indicating when the videos were filmed. And now this story. Israeli soccer player Sagiv Yecheskel was arrested in Turkey last night over his gesture he made during a game for his Turkish team Antalya Sport with Israeli hostages. And joining us now is Baba Goal founder and soccer journalist, expert in Middle Eastern sports affairs, Uri Levy. Uri, what are the latest details? Hey, what are the latest details we know about Yecheskel's wild story?
Yeah, Amit, what we are hearing really in the minutes before our broadcast is that Sagiv Yecheskel is released and will be flying to Israel in a couple of hours in a private jet, according to my sources in Turkey. Just to recap on what this guy has been through in the past 24 hours. Yesterday, on the 68th minute against Trabzonspor, he scored a goal and made a solidarity gesture, an innocent gesture, commemorating 100 days since October 7th, Hamas attacks on Israel. And, an innocent gesture that he thought that is simply identifying with the families of the victims, with the hostages that are still being held in Hamas captivity while we speak. But apparently nowadays Turkey and nowadays Middle East, nothing is apolitical, and even an innocent gesture can be tarnished and viewed as an incitement and a call for a massacre, a counter-massacre. I don't know the exact expression in Turkish that celebrities, politicians, and basically millions of Turkish football fans and social media users used against Sagiv Yecheskel. But after a night that he spent in arrest, waiting for trial, we saw videos of Yecheskel being taken to a court this morning, but apparently, and this is must also need to be said, his club, Antalya Sport, provided him with legal consulting and legal accompanying, so he wasn't facing trials or any kind of charges, but still a very intimidating situation. Imagine being with your wife and your 7-month-old baby, packing your life in basically 2 hours and then facing all kind of legal threats in a foreign country. Not a pleasant experience at all. And, it makes me think on a wider expression and a wider consequences of the October 7 war that we are basically living in the past 3 months. Are Israeli and Turkey are going to, disconnect their ties, their diplomatic ties, their commerce ties? Where is this whole thing going? Because obviously the line that the Turkish regime has taken since October 7 is unacceptable for Israelis. If, a simple innocent gesture cannot be made, in a full heart.
It's definitely a shame and definitely a pity, and I'm sure this is a developing story. Thank you so much, Uri, for joining us today.
Thank you, Amit. My pleasure.
In a global outcry marking the 100 days since October 7, a united front of thousands through major cities around the globe rallied passionately for the return of the hostages in the ongoing war. And ALTV's William Sharon has the voices.
In commemoration of the 100th day since October 7th, thousands both at home and abroad came together for pro-Israel rallies to mark a day 100 of the war. In Israel, families of the hostages initiated a 24-hour-long rally named 100 Days of Hell, concluding on Sunday night at Tel Aviv's Hostage Plaza. Internationally, the resonance of the tragedy echoed loudly. In Berlin, relatives and friends of German dual citizens abducted by Hamas marched through the city center, underlining the global impact of this war. Israeli ambassador to Berlin, Ron Poshol, addressed the families, emphasizing the urgency of bringing the hostages back. Among the hostages is Alona Hol, a 22-year-old pianist kidnapped during a Nova music festival near Kibbutz Re'im. His family initiated the Yellow Piano campaign, placing pianos in public spaces for anyone to play in support of the cause.
I want to say that it's been 100 days today. And time, we don't have a lot of time at all. Time is running out. And I feel that we need to do something now.
Thousands more gathered for pro-Israel rallies demonstrating in Trafalgar Square in London, Central Park in New York, and even at the Opera House in Vienna. U.S. President Joe Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken expressed their commitment to bringing the hostages home, with President Biden stating that 100 days of captivity in Gaza is far too long.
United Hatzalah is the organization that has been at the forefront throughout this war and were the first ones to witness the horrors of October 7. ALTV's Emily Schrader sat with United Hatzalah EMT, Yechiel Gorfine.
Yechiel, thank you so much for joining us here in studio today. I know you were a first responder on October 7th, and I was wondering if you can share a little bit with us about what your experience was with United Hatzalah on that day.
So October 7th, I started like everyone. First thing in the morning when the sirens started going off from the villages around the Gaza, and slowly went towards center of Israel. I got up, I heard like all the sirens in my phone and on the Hatzalah group. I decided I'm going down towards the road to help them like I do every time where there's missiles without knowing what's going on this time. As I was heading down towards the road, I started getting all of the details from volunteers that are already on scene that I have terrorists going around and shooting. In 1 minute of think, I said, all right, let's stop for a minute, understand what's going on, and then continue on going in, because it makes no sense to just run in without knowing what's going really on. So I stopped on the way. Unfortunately, the missiles ran after me. I found myself just going from place to place around Rehovot in direct heads for missiles until like around morning time, like later, 2 hours to into this whole thing. I decided, all right, I have to go help where I really need to, where people are fighting and need our help. And I headed down up towards Sderot. And I found myself from the morning together with all of the volunteers. So it's all this going around and collecting injured people, civilians, army people, and just transiting from over to the hospitals all around Israel. Towards the evening time, I found myself in the entrance to Be'eri. When I got there, first of all, the whole way, just bodies laying down, cars burned. We were able to hear the whole way the shooting from the terrorists from inside Be'eri, from the villages next to Kfar Aza and all of those areas. in the entrance to Be'eri, I met the soldiers that were already there fighting and trying to
reclaim
the whole thing. And basically, I found myself through the whole evening, the whole day, and the whole night, and the whole half of the Sunday day, just standing in the entrance of Be'eri and getting all of the soldiers that were injured from inside Be'eri that were bringing out to us the entrance of Be'eri. We get them the first respond on the scene, and then we transfer them over to the ambulance with ambulances, either to the hospitals or to the 699 helicopters to take them over to the hospitals.
Mm-hmm. Now, I understand you have a kind of a special story from this day of immense tragedy, I can only imagine. But this story of Be'eri, a dog who was instrumental in the rescue efforts a little bit later. Can you share with us more about this special pet?
So first I'll stay first in October 7. One of my ways to go through this whole thing was to be there, but not really be there, not to feel what's going on, to block myself from what's going on around. But one point in the night, I heard about on the Army radio that they're bringing out to us some injured people. I was ready to get injured people, really. But when the car opened the doors, I saw the injured dog, a canine dog that was injured. He got shot from the terrorist inside. For the first moment, I was mixed up. I'm like, I never treated the dogs. I have no idea how to treat them. Mm-hmm. But in half a minute after, when I realized how the soldier that was with him is so connected, and I understood that now I have to save this dog, like I saved H1. So I just started treating him like I treated every person, basically the same way. And while we were treating them, we found there a doctor, or a soldier doctor, that he's also a vet. And he enjoyed us to do the first response on this scene.
Incredible.
And right afterwards, we transferred them over the dog and his soldier over to the hospital to continue on training. We got to save the dog, and that was the moment in the whole tragedy that I really all of a sudden I felt it, like I realized what happens, and I actually started crying also on the scene.
Of course.
It was really hard. But that brought me over to my next stage after this whole, when we finished like this whole thing's a couple days of there. It's that I realized I have to help myself also. And I always had this dream to enjoy the United Hatzalah team, the Chosen team, the team that helps people that go through tragedy to go through the whole process and to go back to normal. And one of the ways to go through it's through dog therapy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's something that really helped me many times around. And I decided in that moment that I have to get involved in the dog therapy, and not just to help myself, and also to help other people afterwards. So that's how I got my little puppy. She'll be big, but now she's still small and little. And I named her Be'eri because the moment when I got the idea that I have to go and to get involved in another way of helping people, and that was in Be'eri when I saved that Oketz dog, Tiger. So
it's beautiful. It's really a testament to Hatzalah's commitment to all lives, even our furry friends. Well, Yechiel, we are out of time, but I want to thank you so much for your courage and your bravery and your strength, going through some of the most, I think, hideous things imaginable that you've witnessed. So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
Yes, and these people are truly angels in orange. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight around most of the country, we get a break from the rain with lows averaging around 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we will see cloudy skies alongside steady top temperatures, seeing highs of about 19 degrees Celsius or 67 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's all for today's news. For more updates from Israel on all your devices, check out our AlTV channel, subscribe to our AlTV newsletter, and of course, do not forget to check out our new and improved website, iltv.tv, with all of the latest news from the heart of the State of Israel. I'm Amit Harari. Stay safe, and thank you so much for watching. So we know the news is volatile and fast-paced, and we want to let you know that ILTV's new app is now available. So if you want to stay connected to the latest news from Israel, the Middle East, and the Jewish world, download our app now on all your devices. It's available in the App Store for both Android and iPhone.